Now he's bragging about the Darrell knockout, and that's fine too. But that's one of those things that just perfectly lined up for him, and that's good. He has enough power. Pretty much anybody can knock somebody out, especially if they don't see the punch coming. But he landed a good, clean punch on Darrell. I'm gonna show you how it got set up real quick. We're gonna talk about uh, Benavidez real quick. So here's what happened leading into that knockout. It they were going at it again, and see, oh, the grabbing. Caleb grabs just way too much. It becomes frustrating. You can't fight a guy when he kind of almost flails at you, and he's jumping at you, and then he just grabs you. That makes for an ugly fight, and it's not. It's not good boxing. Now watch this. This is interesting right here. This is how this developed. Coming off the ropes. Now Darrell had been complaining that uh, Plant had been using his shoulder because technically you're not allowed to snap. There's the shoulder snap you can use on the inside. When you're body to body, you can use a shoulder snap, but you can also make it a hip snap. You can just snap the hip and not necessarily engage the shoulder to get space from a guy and go ahead and punch. In this case, we literally have Plant who is actually using the shoulder and bumping during the course of the fight, and Darrell was complaining about this, but apparently it didn't do any good. Now watch. All right, I'm going to run it back in slow motion because that was hard to see, but this is what happens right before the knockout. This is how it developed right here. I'm not saying that this is the only thing, but right there. And I think that because that was, see, this is what's funny. In that instant, Plant was squarer, and he was in a position where he could get some pretty good leverage. And I think that short right hand kind of buzzed Darrell just a bit. I could be wrong, but I think it may have. So let's watch it. And it's in slow motion, so you can't get the full effect, but watch. Boom, there's the shot. And a sharp right hand, right either, I don't know if it was to the chin or the temple. I couldn't tell. Well, let me look at that again. And I'm going to go ahead and speed it up to regular speed so you can see what happens on the inside in fighting a lot of times. And typically, though, you're down in a much better position than stand up high like this when it happens. But at any rate, watch the shoulder snap right there. Came across quickly with that right hand. It may have been right on the temple. Okay? One more time. I want you to look at this. Now I got to go ahead and get to. It's going to be short work with Benavidez. Here it comes. Watch the right hand right there. And now Darrell moves slightly funny. Now Darrell loses focus here for a second, and he does something really, yeah. See, so I think there may have been a little something to that. I might be wrong, but when you have a guy that's at your blind side, it's not a good idea to turn or even hook. Now, if his right hand had been up high, if he had that good foundational habit of having that right hand high while not in use, there it is high. And when you punch, keeping it there, it's not easy. But when you're on the inside, you definitely want to be thinking about that. So he's blindsided right now, and he went for after he felt the body shot, he went for the hook and he dropped his hand. He never saw the punch coming. On top of the fact that he might have been a bit discombobulated from that short right hand, and boom, that was it. Lights out, overdone. And that was that. And all of it right here. There's the shot. Gets a little warning. Comes back. Jarrell's looking kind of funny. And there it is. Now the shoveling the Plant did may come back to haunt him come Saturday. Wasn't very sportsmanlike to do that. By the way, he said something in the press conference following this fight about Darrell saying he'd never get beat by a white boy, and Darrell didn't even know what he was talking about. Darrell, after the fight, if anybody wants to make $10,000, Darrell said that he would pay anybody $10,000 who could find him the video or the audio of him saying that uh, he would never get beat by a white boy, and he said he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. That's not racist, by the way. It would be actually racially prejudiced. But he said he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. Anybody that can find that, that he said that, he would pay them $10,000. So if you want to make $10,000, search the web and try to find where Darrell said he would never let a white boy beat him. But it was not good for Plant to keep, and he was warned right here, but he kept shoveling, and he actually kind of hit the referee and started shoveling again. So I believe that there's going to be a little bit of reaping what you sow come Saturday, based on that. Might be wrong, but hey, who knows? All right, David Benavidez Jr., like I said, 26 wins, 0 losses, 23 KOs, 6'2", probably a 77-inch arm reach, the Mexican monster. I'm not sure of his age. I keep getting confused on the age. Maybe he's only 22, but he's young. Now, listen, he said it himself when I played his audio before I did anything else on this film, and he said it what I was actually going to say, and I came across before I did this. I said, well, let me get a quote. I like to start a lot of times with a quote from someone and something that's relevant to what it is that I'm going to be getting at. But anyway, he said it best. People are always says he does everything wrong anyway. People are always saying he does everything wrong, but he wins. And that was one of the things I was going to get at. So I don't have much to say about what he does wrong. However, we know that he walks. He basically just walks around the ring almost like a plotter. If you remember Winky Wright, his position is so much like Winky Wright. His basic movement patterns and the way he gets that high guard up, just basically into a cage defense. Like when the guys start coming at him, he reminds me so much of Winky Wright, just on the surface. Now, it doesn't go a great deal further than that. But if you look at a Winky Wright fight, and you look at his stance and his movement, you'll see what I'm talking about. Winky Wright also has his feet a lot wider. David Benavidez, if you notice, his feet are not super wide, and that's smart. But the thing is, he's not in too bad a position right now, but he doesn't follow the rules of how to step in the boxing ring. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But he's okay right now. But a lot of times, like he just did, he'll just walk towards you. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He hasn't had anybody make him straighten up yet, so it doesn't matter because he's beating everybody. So as far as his footwork, we know that his footwork doesn't look great. That doesn't mean he doesn't have good work if he footwork if he needs it. We don't know. I'm assuming that he's got a lot more than what we've seen because he's always smiling while he's handing out butt whoopings. That lets you know something. When a guy's smiling, and especially when he gets in exchanges, some of the punchers he's been there with, some of the guys he's been there with, Lemieux, I think Lemieux was his last fight. Lemieux had a pretty nice record. What Lemieux was like 43-4 with 36 knockouts, so Lemieux can hit. And he was in there mixing up with Lemieux and just basically having fun with it. When you have a guy that's smiling in those exchanges and things, that's telling you something. That he's probably not being pushed to his limits. Most likely, he's not. He's smiling. He's having a good time. He's very comfortable. He's very confident in that he can, that he's going to beat this guy, and he has no worries. And so you see this in his fights time and time again, where he's smiling, while they're squared up and just going at it. And even if he takes a shot, like when you put up that high guard, a lot of times guys are either gonna there's a couple of choices. They're gonna try to shoot like shots up the middle. Those uppercuts up the middle if they can. They'll try to get around that. Some people will shoot a shot and try to pull that arm down and catch you with the other hand if you're too good at it. But with him, he gets caught sometimes, but he with the say with the looping shots, but not enough to where he's being stunned or where it hurts him, and then he returns fire and runs off those combinations and puts the guy right back on the defensive. So as far as his footwork and things like that, it doesn't matter. Who cares? As far as his basic defensive style, being in that high guard, it it's proven not to be a factor up to this point because he's beaten everybody. Nobody's made him do anything different. That's what we have to wait and see. Is he going to do anything different? Does he need to? Um, Again, I don't think we've seen the best of him at all. He makes it seem pretty easy. Um, and I will say this: being sometimes he's in a stance where he's more square, which on the inside that cool, but even from the outside, a lot of times he's kind of squared up. Now, what that does, if let's say a guy presses you quickly or something, and your feet are basically you're standing with your feet parallel, um, it's going to get you off balance. Moving front to back, you're not going to be able to quickly move forward or backwards if your feet are parallel. Okay, you follow me? Facing a guy. So there's so you're always at a diagonal, some form of a diagonal. Uh, 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 when in front of your opponent, that's the best bet. Get inside, you're gonna square up a bit more. But it's actually he's better off than Plant though when Plant is way too far to the side because at least he's not losing power by by being in that position. He's not really losing any power. He's got the use of both of his hands pretty equally, so he's comfortable with it. It's working for him. We'll see if he has to change anything. Um, it's just that so much of what he's doing, it appears to be by choice. And also, he can fight moving backwards. That's the other thing. He can fight going backwards. And I don't know if I have any. Let me see if we can find something real quick. But he doesn't have any problem uh, fighting on the way back. Let's see if here's the Lemieux. Here's the Lemieux fight. He he um he just he just really he just really destroyed Lemieux. Let's see if we can get to the end of it. He had already knocked him through the ropes and Lord knows what else. And then it got down to this. But again, he can punch. He can fight going backwards. And I'm talking about as he's moving backwards. I'm talking about actually delivering punches as he's moving. He can do that. Uh, Plant is just he seems incapable at this point, and he can be taught it, but you know he seems incapable. Um, so again, the things that appear to be these glaring weaknesses, glaring mistakes that David Benavidez is making, and just to me, I think that he's casually approaching the situation. He studied his opponents. He knows what he's in for the most part, and he's gonna, unless they force him to do something different, he's just gonna do what's comfortable. And is that a good idea, a bad idea? Who knows? Who cares? Why show something? Why show? The one way to look at it is, why show things that you have? Why show all your weapons that you have in your arsenal if it's not necessary? Just so people can study you further. So it's a good. I mean, why? I mean, all of us know something about that. Where why am I going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G when all I got to do is A, B, and C, and you're handled? It can be that smart. So we'll see. Um, I mean, even with his toughest opponents, he just seems to be unfazed by their power. I mean, I don't know what else to say in the matter as far as Benavidez is concerned. Um, the dude has power and speed and height and reach. He's got a great jab. He runs off great combinations with speed and authority, and he's got excellent body shots and counters. Um, he doesn't seem to fatigue, um, and he's intelligent in the ring as well. And so, from what I've seen, I just don't see Caleb Plant being able to win this fight. This is not a 50-50 fight. I don't care what anybody says. This is not a 50-50 fight. It's just not to me. And it's my humble opinion again, but this is not a 50-50 fight. Um, because Plant is going to have to literally be perfect. He's going to have to be perfect. Well, shoot, Benavidez said that at the conference. Like I said, when I stumbled on that thing last night or whatever, um, uh, but he's right. It's true. Uh, it's not a 50-50 fight. I see. I, I, if Plant fights perfectly, I don't even see him. I don't even see him getting the victory if he fights perfectly, unless you got bad judges. I say that if he fights pretty close to perfectly, he gets out of there without getting knocked out. But I just see this with everything that I've seen here. I see Benavidez beating him with relentless pressure, and with the power, speed combinations, the ability to fight on the move, his intelligence in the ring. That's what I see. I think he'll probably end up knocking him out. Um, and if I had to guess, if I were a betting man, uh, Plant might be slick enough to get there. What, 8 or 9 rounds? Will he survive? With the pressure, and Benavidez is in better shape than he's ever been in his life right now. And by the way, I think that by being a fat kid, um, he developed quite a bit of muscle, um, strong muscle and strong joints when he carried all that weight as a kid. For the length of time that he did, his core muscles seem to be very strong. He's completely unfazed. That's another thing. By standing square, all he has to worry about is covering his ribs and his face. He doesn't worry about his stomach at all, and I understand that too. I understand what it is to have when your stomach is rock hard, but all you have to do is know that something's coming at you and no phase. But he's in the best shape of his life right now. I just hope. Now, there's one thing. I hope that they didn't overtrain. I hope that he didn't. I hope that his any of his intense training, whether it be weight training or some other type of high intensity training, I hope he stopped 7 to 10 days before the fight. I really hope that, or he won't have ample recovery, so he might look sluggish. That's overtraining. That never works out well for a guy's speed and endurance. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Um, at any rate, I think that he's going to knock out Plant. I just don't know what round. So, like I said, if I had to bet on it, can Plant make it to? Can Plant make it into the 10th round? Can he make it into the 10th round? Because I believe that Benavidez is going to be pushing him harder than Canelo did. You know what? I'm going to say that he gets knocked out in the 8th round. If I were a betting man, and were just forced to do it, I would say that Benavidez knocks him out in the 8th round, or he gets stopped or whatever. Um, the only way I don't see that happening, to be honest, is if Plant just like perfectly controls distance at all times. But if I had to bet, I am saying that here's what I'm saying. I am saying that Benavidez is going to get him in the 8th round. Is going to end in the 8th round, and that's all I got on that. Hey, we'll see what happens, but I think it'll be a very good fight though. So if anybody's got comments or anything, that's fine. Um, but that's all for this one. I'm out of here. Peace and love, and keep your eyes wide open and do the right thing.